Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to Fear 2. Now, it's highly unlikely, but we might actually be near the end of this game, so I finally gave in and tried to figure out what's going on with Alma. I went to Wikipedia trying to explain the story of Fear 1 since it's been so long, and maybe I didn't even understand it when I played Fear 1 less than a year ago. Um, Timeline wise, the story does not get better. Let's just put it straight up. Uh, on the cards on the table, the little girl Alma, which I literally typed into Google, why are there two Almas, and I could not get a straight answer. The one I've been calling her Innocence or the innocent Alma, probably arguably not that innocent. Like, it seems like she had been psychically attacking the Armacam scientists who are doing horrible experiments on her. Also seems like her psychic abilities may not really have been coming from any medicine that they were testing in the school anyways. It may very well be that they just had her in a school where they were trying to reproduce her natural abilities. Uh, she's 10 years old. Like, so, and at the age of 10, she very possibly had already killed somebody. She had created a fire. She had psychically attacked Armacam soldiers. Like, none of those people are innocent, frankly. And honestly, at a certain point, a 10-year-old defending themselves with whatever power they have is still, on my moral compass, an innocent child. Uh, Although it certainly would be weird if in the real world 10-year-olds had psychic abilities and could easily, through a tantrum, kill adults. But whatever. They put her into a coma until she's like 16 years old. So the naked, quote unquote, adult Alma is 16 years old. So she's also underage. When this game came out, there was no overall statute of limitations or anything as far as depictions or sexualization of 16-year-olds. There might have been in two or three states a age of consent that was 16, but vast majority it's always been considered 18. Um, so you really have to at a certain point question why the producers and publishers let those ages happen. Like, even when you see in Japanese games where the age of consent is 16, you very often will see that rewritten in the text to say they're 18, or they sometimes even go 21 there, so that the age of consent that's said out loud is at least in line with the country that the game is being played on. This game is made by Americans, as far as I know. Yeah, it's made by Westerners, to say the least. I don't think the age of consent is 16 in all of Canada either. So it's just creepy. Like, I don't want to belabor that point, but it is straight up creepy. And certainly when I was younger, maybe I wouldn't have paid that much mind, but these would have been adults, 25, 30, 40, 50 year olds working on this game, and not there wasn't apparently a single adult minded person in the room that said, "Hey, let's not have a 16-year-old naked in there." And it's not just the depiction of the nakedness, because they're trying to show that that's her decrepit dead body at the 16-year-old point. It's the fact that they literally, to get the story that they wanted to cram in the Fear One, they literally forcibly impregnated, which I don't know how you don't call that rape, Alma, some point between 10-year-old and 16-year-old, twice, to give birth to Point Man, the unnamed character you play as in the first game, and Paxton Fettel, who hasn't shown up in this game for better or worse, which is fine. Uh, and we, at the moment, don't know if it in the first game there was a lot of thought that Alma was directly controlling Paxton Fettel. I don't know if that was really the case. It didn't seem like that was really the case. I think Paxton Fettel very much was going along with the plan, at least in part, to free Alma's spirit. Um, there's there's weirdness with the timeline that follows even at that point, because while she is like biologically 16, they kept her in a storage container like a sensory deprivation unit for like another 10 years before they had even touched the body. So she was like 26 before they at first exposed her spirit. And according to the Wikipedia, maybe this happens in Fear 3, she gets up to being actually about 46 years old chronologically, which just is going to make the depiction of a young Alma, if they get back to showing any depictions of young Alma, even weirder. The story is a mess, to say the least. And since Fear, and this is the second point that needs to be um, mentioned, is Fear 2 has been fairly repetitive as far as doing the same thing each level to level. And they're trying to trick me here, as we are in the second half to the end of the game, to think that there were more bosses than there really were, when really in the first half of the game there kind of weren't any bosses. Um, and that's an improvement slightly over Fear 1, where I think in Fear 1 there probably were only 3 or 4 bosses in total, but not much of an improvement. But in its repetitive level to level, it is also being incredibly repetitive as far as just remaking Fear 1. For the most part, we are, at the end of the day, we can boil down Fear 1 and Fear 2 down to we are a soldier, we are wandering around through some places, and then we fight Alma. And that's it. In the middle there are points where we find invisible assassins. We just found invisible assassins. They're just doing the same thing. We find soldiers. We find armor soldiers. The character models might be a little bit different. The AI might be slightly improved. I don't even really feel like it has been improved. I kind of feel like it's just the same. A lot of the elements as far as 3D models and stuff are more than just homages to the original game. They are just reskins of the original game. And there was definitely enough time for them to have gone back to the drawing board and done something different. Let's hop into the game now.
I'll skip the metaphysics and try to keep this as simple as possible. Sergeant Becket, Genevieve Aristide did some nasty things to you back at that medical facility. First came the gene splicing operation to link you to Alma. Then she tricked you into getting into the telesthetic attunement chamber, which strengthened the link. That's
Interesting.
why Alma's aware of you, and why you're totally pooch screwed unless you can destroy her. Which
So,
brings you to the telesthetic amplifier at Still Island. You're not psychically potent enough to resist Alma, so we're going to plug you into a device that will crank up your brainwaves.
well,
Sadly, the only device that has enough juice for the job is on Still Island.
it's funny, we're zooming out here, but I don't have control on the camera. So the game should have done more of this, by far.
My belief is that the amplifier will theoretically make you powerful enough to defeat Alma in a battle of wills. I say theoretically because my data on Alma's a little sketchy at this point, but the odds are better than...
So I was just standing really close to the monitor there. Now I can turn.
Seems pretty straightforward. Find the psychic amplifier, plug Becket into it, flip the switch, and Alma's history.
And I guess she just failed on trying to do that to the other people.
I thought they shut the reactor down like 30 or 40 years ago.
That must have been when Armacam moved in.
According to Snake Fist's data, it's the main testing area for Project Origin. How far out are we, Manny?
So, yeah, maybe Point Man just doesn't play a role here.
Holy shit!
Which, that's kind of a silly thought.
Where did you come from?
Manny, what the hell is going on?
Sorry, Lieutenant. Looks like we really stepped in the shit here.
What's out there? Like, we can't see out there.
Targets bearing down on our position. Looks like replicas, and they're pissed.
Sergeant, get us out of here.
We don't have a lot of options. Wait. Up ahead. Oh, man, I don't know.
What?
It's kind of funny to have an armored personnel carrier.
I've got an idea.
Whoa. What is that supposed
And
to be?
Going down.
Like, this feels like at a certain point the screen should show us what's outside. And that if they were going to do that, it would have probably helped if they had established that as an idea.
10th Street Station, now boarding.
Subway. Good work, Sergeant.
Manny, you crazy.
I don't think there was a subway previously.
Man that turret and cover us. We need to figure out where we are.
So it seems like they're going to just let us get in a turret now. I'm going to have to figure out where the people are. I feel like what we are in is a situation here where they wanted this to be a lot cooler than it would be. So, like, we're not seeing what's happening with Keegan. This guy is massively armored. Keegan is... So those two are over there, and I guess I'm supposed to be giving covering fire? And it seems like I'm taking just more damage than probably would want, but not enough to really kill me. So Keegan's just totally enthralled by Alma in the middle of the firefight. And it's a little surprising that we don't have more of that happen. And zooming bullets, I guess, next to Keegan probably is not a smart move. Like, and I guess nobody is attacking me from the sides anymore. No grenades here. There goes my armor, so now I need to start making real focus on playing safe. I feel like this is a game that would have benefited greatly with a better zoom option. And then I just hit the B button, and I don't know if the B button specifically would have let me run out of that tank earlier, or if that was just a coincidence. It's not a terrible idea to throw in a train subway section.
Don't be afraid.
We don't have time for this shit, man. Pull yourself together.
We've got all these potential areas where we can pick up collectibles and bullets. And it seems like most of the people have probably run out of bullets. I guess you can't go back through that direction.
Keegan, snap out of it.
Don't leave.
Keegan, God damn it! Becket, get him back here.
Oh, where are you going?
And so he's just walking into a light. Interval 6, deterioration. I can't go back, so if there was a small pickup or collectible over in the corner there, which there might have been, I've missed it, so that might very well be the end of me potentially getting all the collectibles. It still feels like it's possible that... How are you on guns, by the way? Yeah, might as well stick with this gun for a little while. it's still very possible that everybody's dead already. And I'm just dreaming all of this up. It's still believable to me that Point Man is actually controlling me. Yeah, we don't get anything for actually killing the rats, and it's not beneficial. Unlike like Resident Evil 4, in Resident Evil 4 you definitely had flash grenades that you could throw at crows, and then crows would drop a lot of bits of gold and things. Although it often is just not really worth it. There's my flashlight being forced off to make it spookier. That inherently is a problem with having a flashlight in a horror game, is then you have to have a crappy flashlight that doesn't work in a computer game. What? It's weird. Weird to have 2 save points happen and kind of nothing's happened at all. And it seems like there's nothing over here. And doesn't seem like there's an easy way to get into there. Or anything in there anyways. They've just used the same subway station, but in all fairness, subway stations all do look the same anyways, so it would make sense. It would totally make sense. That's an interesting, very large light source to have. Well, I guess that's pretty natural. We've got somebody's guitar and money being left. What's missing here more than anything is the fact that there's just no dead bodies. And how could there be no dead bodies? And did everybody just escape, or were they just disintegrated by Alma? Yeah. These are just the spooky guys again, the invisible replica soldiers. You can see our camera flashlight's like once again not really doing a lot. See, I just don't know if that guy is supposed to really even attack me yet, or there definitely feels like there's a mistake here in the fact that there are replicant soldiers that seemingly... Can you not jump over these? You would think that would be something that you could do fairly easily. Like, it's really silly to have replicant soldiers be more powerful than regular soldiers in early iterations at the very least, since it's just kind of like an unproven technology. Like, it just screams that armor cam is fairly dumb. It's interesting how there's a shadow here that couldn't possibly work because there's a table in the way. We would just see part of the handle, not all of it. Can't use the ATM for anything. And these things don't drop anything. It's so obvious that these would be great if you could smash them and get at least a health kit back. A little health power up. If not, maybe some resources to craft and create some bullets. Because we're definitely not in a good position. as far as bullets are concerned. There goes. There goes our assault rifle. We'll have to wait. Oh, so this actually has like a harpoon in it. Interesting. I will say they did do a very different texture here with these invisible guys, where they just kind of felt like guys in suits in the first game. And I can't inherently hate them being reused. It would be kind of silly if they weren't. Alright, well, here I guess we go. Combat shotgun time. If I'm getting achievements now for making for using the harpoon gun, it's possible they expected you to use the shotgun more often than earlier, so it's totally believable that notice how our time slowdown feature is not stopping on its own. So it's telling me that there are more invisible people. But this definitely doesn't feel like this is much different than the creepy crawly jumpers that we had before in the previous level. We are in just this weird position where either that's going to be Keegan and we're finally done with him, or like any of these could be Keegan really, or electrical hazard. Oh, are we going to hit a powered third rail? Well, I see 2 rails here in the subway and neither one of them seems to be particularly powered. Anything we see is questionable, though, so if we see them, it very easily could just be a hallucination. I don't know if they're close enough to even try to hit. There we've got one guy. And then we've got another guy. And we're back to just the soldiers. They seemingly are now just attacking you kind of out of spite, because I don't know if they were given standing orders when the general died, or they just don't know that the general died when you shot him. Maybe it's not really worth it to have them write a line of dialogue telling you to this guy's got a harpoon gun that I think the harpoon gun would have worked a lot better there. Yeah, I should have swapped. What just hit me? They must have blown up that. That must have been what hit me. Alright, well, back to swapping to the assault rifle. And we'll just stick with this harpoon gun. Some assault rifle ammo, some frag grenades. Could have run over here and flipped some cover, but pretty much that's cover that was designed for them to flip. At a certain level, it wouldn't have been terrible had they just programmed the game so that only the enemies flipped and used cover, and you were just a, like, badass who always ran and gunned. Then you don't have to, you just script the fact that people are flipping cover. You don't have to program it as an interactive element. Pump room being labeled oddly easily. Hitting the guys in the arms, not so useful. And we still don't really even need the 3 med kits. Like, there's been 2 or 3 times in the entire game where having a 3rd med kit was useful, and every other instance it's just been like, alright, that's a nice little backup on normal. I wouldn't be super surprised if we were playing this on Pro if you could only have 2 med kits, and then maybe I would have died twice as often compared to where I have died now. But also, I think at a certain level, there is weirdness that there isn't a hardcore mode in a game like this. I do feel like you could reasonably be expected to be, you could reasonably think that you could run through this entire game without ever dying once, particularly if you're playing mouse and keyboard. I lucked out there. I'm slowly running out of ammo. You'd think you could pick up these harpoons. That's definitely what would be the case in BioShock. There was a harpoon gun and you crafted harpoons, but also you very often could just pull the harpoons out of the wall and reuse them. This definitely screams like it's a level where they've designed it so that you'll hit a lot of fire extinguishers and a lot of electrical things, which is way too late in the game to introduce that as a concept if nobody has seen it up until this point. Like, 2, 3. And see, even in that case, when I shot the fire extinguisher, it didn't do anything other than stun the guy. So it's fire extinguishers aren't explosive enough. That's a point where I think it would have been better had they kind of blurred the lines of reality a little bit more and had them explode in at least larger clouds of white smoke. $22 of these shots left. I think that guy's dead. think that guy's T-posed, but at the very least they aren't using the actual T-pose. It's fairly insane that even nowadays people still use the T-pose as a thought. While that might be the best way to test the textures and make sure every square inch under the arm and such is yeah, I must have shot this guy and stuck him up here, but I don't feel like I did. Like, at what point could I have shot him? Here? I guess here, and then I shot him all the way to that. But yeah, as far as the in-game engine, they drastically need to make sure all of the characters flop more like these bodies flop. Music's stopping, so it may be done. Or if they are going to hit a T-pose, it should probably be much more like this, with your arms down and standing up, where it's less recognizable. Now, in all fairness, this isn't a T-pose. Instead, I did shoot him up here. So now we've just got a piñata. You'd think there's an award for cruelly beating the body of a hanging person? Probably not. It does go to show the flexibility in the joints, though. Of course, there is an argument to be made that the physics that they programmed into these enemies probably limited the number of enemies that could be on screen. This isn't a game that really has that many bad guys on screen at once. I have a decent amount of bullets now on the assault rifle, so we'll go back to trying to save that. And I guess that's not Keegan. And yeah, we're just getting creepy visions. It's weird to have Point Man be the daughter of Alma in the story and potentially have Point Man disappear and then effectively just replace him and redo the whole events of the first game with a less connected character. I often hate the fact that it seems like it's all in the family with a lot of characters and games, but once you've pulled that trigger, undoing it's kind of not possible. I can't shoot him, and he's turning on the pumps or something. Turning on the power. So, yeah, you may now be electrified in some places. And that's probably what these rats are for, is to have them run somewhere. Still in that weird position where we're getting ghosts that sometimes jump scare you, and sometimes that they might hurt you, or just sometimes they might just have your heartbeat faster. And we needed to clear. Yeah, we just needed to clear the ghosts. I'm just gonna go into single bullet mode here. Single bullet mode, trying to shoot these guys as we work our way through the pumps and try not to get hit. It's incredibly inconsistent here to have ghosts and then have ghosts that are actually replicant soldiers. Maybe that was the idea, but it doesn't kind of work. Probably just because there's not enough time in which we spend with the invisible soldiers to be established or learn to be afraid of the like it definitely feels like you should have had the invisible soldiers appear as kind of a boss almost at the very beginning of the game, and that way when you do reach that level you're very used to them, you're very afraid of them. They could get stronger throughout the game. They should be like the number 2 soldiers for the replicant army, because I can't even tell you what a basic replicant soldier looks like with any certainty, because I might just be describing the actual soldiers, the humanoid soldiers. They don't stand out visually differently enough. Alright, so which way do we want to go? We want to go in here, look for a collectible. I feel like if I fail to get an award in this level, then that will tell me something about. I also feel like I could probably make that jump if I could run. Yeah, if I don't get an award at the end of this level for collecting the information, then I missed it. I missed some collectible. So you could like very easily miss this whole section, I guess. Of incendiary grenades. There's weirdness in the fact that they often give you incendiary grenades and then you kind of don't have any good use for them. I still don't think I've gotten any proximity grenades. Yeah, I haven't refilled any of that, so that doesn't make a lot of sense. Also, there's not like a lot of reason to. You know what? Let's use this. So, shock grenades in the water don't seem to do anything. Gotta aim it just perfectly. Yeah, I don't think shock grenades do anything. I don't think water grenades are going to do anything. I don't think fire grenades are going to do anything. I think the impact from being in the water in the first place is going to dull all of the fights. Which, if that was the idea, that they would have levels where there was just water on the floor, and these are areas specifically labeled as you can't use grenades here, that's fine. But we are, once again, it just feels like late in the game for them to introduce such complicated concepts, particularly when there's it doesn't feel like there's a lot of game left. Something in it. This is another part of the level too that's just copy and paste as far as the level design. Yeah, it definitely feels like they ran out of budget with the level design stuff here. And you see that in a lot of games, particularly older games where budgeting was done worse, and I think it very often is done these days. They'll put the first 2 hours, polish that up, make that look really good, and then they'll do a lesser job in the last half of the game, because most people, statistically speaking, don't make it to the last half of the game. That, of course, ignores a long list of examples of games coming out of the door and being pretty awful. Like, it certainly didn't take 2 hours of content to notice things like the Batman Arkham third game in the series, which was terrible because of poor performance. I think performance might be the great equalizer there, honestly. Cyberpunk 2077, it doesn't take 2 hours for people to be dissatisfied with that. But yeah, that may very well be a case of performance being a great equalizer if the game engine can't do good looking graphics or smooth running frame rates at the beginning of the game. It wouldn't be able to do it at any other point, or if they can't. So things have become more modular. There's a guy somewhere over there, but I almost died there. There you go. I actually crouched. Let's do this, do this, do this, and fire those. I really can't afford to be missing as much as I am. And see, now I need a health kit. And there almost certainly won't be one for a while. So clearly these are electrified third rails, or just electrified rails in general. Well, they're not rails, actually, they're water. Okay. You know where we are at with that. I would argue that if we are going to be allowed to fire and slow down time, these guys should not be allowed to react to it. This is not working. So, a guy falling downward, that's another example of a case where I think he should have probably fallen down, not gotten stuck to a wall, but they want to make it look cool. Knocking a bottle around. I feel like I need to use the harpoon gun, but I kind of don't have any more bullets, so let's swap back to where we were. Was there more this way? kind of feels like there's more this way. But no, there isn't. So I don't know if that's supposed to be like an experimental kind of monster closet where enemies can spawn. Come in here. Come in here. I guess we're going that route. Is there anywhere else that we could have even gone? Nope. Feels like it's been a fairly long level. And it definitely feels like we are just going to end up wherever Alma wants us. Yep. Alright, I'm about to die here. So when was the last save? I think it was literally just a second ago. So you just prepare for this. We're gonna activate this, get back this way, and fire. Anybody else? I have like one more grenade, rocket launcher, and frankly I should just get rid of it because obviously if we've learned anything here, it's that the rocket launcher, while it does a massive amount of damage, never refills. And we've got the pulse weapon too, so goodbye for that. I kind of wish it did refill. It's odd to have just one piece of art here. There is definitely a reality where had this game been made 5 years later, there would have been a lot more posters, a lot more textures and just decorations, things that didn't actually change anything in the game but made it visibly look a lot different. Why do I have a laser? Well, if I have a laser, then what I want to do is swap out the automatic shotgun, not for a pistol, for the assault rifle. There definitely are game levels here. There's definitely a point here where this feels like it's a laser-sighted sniper rifle. They are literally just showing you this stuff because they want you to play with it in the multiplayer, and it kind of falls apart as an idea to have a single-player horror game when really it's just an advertisement for the multiplayer. That doesn't really work for me as somebody who likes to play single-player games and doesn't want to play multiplayer games. Or it also doesn't work for me as someone who's playing this game many years later, and almost certainly there's not that much of a population as far as playing multiplayer games. If I did get online and there was anybody playing online, they probably are experts. They would just defeat me in a very unfun, fast way. See, no achievement there, which I think that probably does make it seem like I missed some pickup. Which, in all fairness, I may have missed a pickup somewhere else too. This laser gun has an annoying sound effect associated with it. That's no fun. You'd want the guns to be mostly silent when they're not firing. And see if Alma shows up right now. Like, and I hit her with the laser. Does that really defeat her? I don't think so. I bet it doesn't one bit. I bet we have at least 1 or 2 levels left. Okay, I ran the wrong way that way. I guess I was supposed to run forward. That was a cheap death. Guess we'll just hold on to the laser. I don't want to listen to that sound effect. Jumping over elements also not great as far as running up to an edge and pressing A. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And it definitely leaves you with this false impression that it's not supposed to work, even if you know it is supposed to work. It definitely doesn't feel like Alma caused that to happen, unless there was a ghost that showed up. And here we have like a ghost section where our image is getting more sepia toned. Like, they should have shown a replica soldier causing that to happen, or a sound effect of... See, are we now following the ghost of our own character? Is this the revelation that Keegan's been dead this whole time? Or are we just following the ghosts of a whole bunch of soldiers? There was this game that came out where you, whenever you died, you would jump into the body of another person. Are we supposed to shoot her? Or is she just supposed to, is creepy naked Alma, which seems to be the only Alma we're going to see going forward? That they really shouldn't have shown the child Alma in this game at all. They should have just said, yeah, that we're taking that out of canon, or we're going to maybe not take it out of canon, but we're going to forget about it and not bring it back up going forward. That would explain, that would help you kind of streamline the storyline. These are the same ads we'd seen before, which Carrier Home Finance, Auburn, Lynch, North Shore. Yeah, it kind of makes it feel like there's definitely some pickups back behind that wall. It kind of makes it feel like they were trying to tease some future game, but I don't think they ever actually made any game that would have connected to that, or maybe tease some DLC. I haven't ever played the DLC to this, so if it does end up taking place partly on a mountain and partly in a house, that would be a different experience, certainly. This is definitely not a game that has tried to be like Resident Evil in that it's set in a smaller, more confined area, like a house. It's all been very big run and jump areas, run and gun areas, not so much run and jumping. Right. Throw a grenade that way and we'll see what happens. These guys are taking me out pretty effectively. A lot of broken glass. See, some of these guys have like skull helmets on, which kind of makes them feel like they're replicant soldiers. You know what would have been cool here is if the replicant soldiers did not speak English, but instead had some kind of grunting system. I think that's it. We got Fidget's McGee's family feed bag. That's new. So if there was kind of a grunting system that of horrific screams and sounds, then you could at least audio wise differentiate whether these are replicant soldiers or not. Like otherwise, I guess I have to kind of look at the logos on their sleeves and is this the replicant logo or is this the soldier armor cam Black Ops team logo? Because I haven't been paying attention to that. It never came up. Would have been easy to write a single line of dialogue somewhere or show the logos side by side. I don't know if it changes the story much. So we go that way, right? There's no other way to go. Guess that's the case. And 56 minutes we've been doing this level. Of course, you also, it's a little weird to have newspaper stands over here in an alcove. You could certainly run into an issue also where if you split a level like this in half, you would just then have two 30-minute levels. And maybe that's a little too short. I don't think so, though. I think breaking levels into smaller 30-minute bites works fine. There certainly could have been a... Here we have a advertisement for Fluffs, like laundry soap. Like right after the bus fell on you, that could have nearly hit you. That could have been a save point, or right before then. That would have been a natural point to pause the game and take a break. Right. Okay. Where's everybody else? Turn off the flashlight so I can actually see the red dot. Honestly, I'm spending more time with the flashlight than I am with other guns. Let's do this. Well, this pulse gun is useless. Also, he wanted me to use the pulse gun on the other guy, on Alma, so it's actually stupid to use it right now. It just wasted more bullets on it. Yeah, there's definitely a problem with giving me a gun. Finally got some more proximity mines. Like giving me a gun and then expecting me to hold on to it for several levels. Particularly in a game that has a weapon select of only 4 weapons, which is very, very small. Here we have a advertisement for something called the Clog. Here we have Snake Fist 4 again. And here we have a map of the city with subway systems, which that could be useful. Yeah, the recon part of this game not really happening. Like, we are not really collecting anything other than the little books, and I'm not really reading them, so I'm not really reconning anything from that. I'm looking for armor and bullets as much as possible. Grenades are good too. Here we have a like propaganda poster being redone as a mural. There we go. Armor, more guns, more grenades. We have another ad for cologne. They're kind of overdoing it now at the end, and this seems very consistent with the problem. This mural probably should have shown up much earlier in the game, and we should have seen it 2 or 3 times instead of just once. And I don't have to expect some giant robotic character to jump out of it and attack me.
Becket, I think I found something. Halford's files show an Armacam cargo tunnel running from the medical facility we were at to Still Island. The subway line intersects it near the King Street station. That cargo tunnel is your best bet.
So, are they talking about the hospital way at the beginning of the game, or are they talking about the medical facility under the school? Because that would be 2 different places. And if either one, it kind of implies that this level was not intended to be at this point in the story. And that's very common in video games for levels to not really be planned out in a storyline order. Instead, it's more of a QA testing game flow order. Does this level make sense at the beginning of the game, or my laser is too slow of a gun. Like, I'm not even seeing these guys, and like the lineup on it is terrible. So this isn't gonna work. I guess they deserve some applause for adding some deep flaws into the guns, so nothing is particularly overpowering. You need that in the multiplayer, at least. That's a point where in the single player you kind of don't need that, and it would be slightly more entertaining if the guns were super overpowered and just ever increasing in their damage capability or fire rate or whatever. Let's see. I don't want to run around too much here. I really just want to be done with it. That was a fairly easy to dodge train also. Well, which, fair enough. I don't see an absolute need to have made that difficult for the player. So I think what we're doing is we're going upstairs and then we're getting on top of the train to cross to the other side. If I was to guess. constantly we're refilling our body armor. Here we've got an intel stick for the laser manual. I guess the laser might work if I can pull it out on something very powerful and hold it down and just cut through one armored enemy or possibly a large group of enemies. That was a jump that did not require running, and thank goodness for that, because it would be fairly easy at this point to forget that you can run. Are we going through that door? Or are we gonna come over here and check this? The way these guys flop. There's clearly somebody somewhere. I kind of wish they would just poof into dust when dead. And I guess that was Becket again. Not Becket. Keegan? Is that his name? I'm Becket. Or I think I'm Becket, at least. Exit to the street. Metro Central. Award complete Keegan. I think I missed a collectible there, which I'll have to definitely check the achievements after I'm done and decide how many achievements there were missed as far as collecting the pickup books. It may not be worth it, particularly since we know there is integrated DLC in F.E.A.R 2, unlike the standalone expansions in F.E.A.R 1. So, and I'm not even certain any of those are integrated into Steam achievements, so if they're not integrated in the Steam achievements at all, then it doesn't matter to me at all. Yeah, that was an hour and 7 minutes. Although, I guess in fairness, I probably did rant for about 10 minutes at the beginning of the levels. Unfortunately, sometimes I do that, and I guess I should learn not to. Lieutenant Stokes sent you after Sergeant Keegan, who wandered off during a firefight and disappeared. He seems to believe he's pursuing a woman, just like the general guy, which I guess it is fair to say they did pretty much kill the black guy first, even though they put him in charge. Let's see. He seems to believe he is pursuing a woman. Lieutenant Stokes has advised you to locate an Armacam cargo tunnel that should lead you to Still Island. She and Sergeant Morales will rendezvous with you there. Okay. So, seems like the way this is going to break down is we'll have one more level that maybe will be a little bit more focused on the jump scares, but maybe not. Like, we may very well not have any more levels that are super jump scary. Even the fight with Alma may not be that jump scary. Or we may run into more creepy spider-like characters that do feel a lot like splicers. I honestly feel like some of the influences of this game were definitely used in Bioshock 1, and Bioshock 1 just did it so much better that nobody made the comparisons. Although it also is very possible that there was a dozen other games that had creepy monsters that crawled on walls. So who knows where the influence came from. But yeah, it feels like we'll have one more level where we're getting to Still Island, and then at least one level at Still Island. I wouldn't be surprised if there's 2 levels at Still Island. So that would leave us with 3 levels of the main story left to go. That's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend to follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. And if you want to support me further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and get me a game off my wishlist. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.